Hello there, everyone. My name is Crazy Caleb, and those goat sounds that you heard on this module are, this means that we are taking a look at Ramboozled again. This module is based off of it's a sort of a parody of Bamboozled again. However, it is significantly easier in some aspects compared to Bamboozled again. It is significantly easier in general, and the concept of it is actually not that hard to do. So, let's take a look at it. It is a very rare concept that not many people know, so, keep that in mind. This is going to be definitely a rare module, and it's not played that often, to be honest. It's more on the unhinged missions, but anyways, I digress. So our goal here is we're going to be pressing a series of 4 different buttons, and these will not change, by the way. The only thing that's going to change is the display, but we're going to be pressing a series of 4 different buttons based off of a word that we get and some series of calculations that we're going to be doing here. Now, these word tables are going to be located down below here, which means that we're going to be having to figure out what our word is, and there's going to be a couple other things that we need to do. There is a possibility of there being a Caesar shift, which we'll get into in just a minute, and there's also the possibility of it being rotated several steps left in this case. So that's what we're going to be doing with this module. So now let's start taking a look and let's see what we need to do for this. The first things first is that we want to really focus on the buttons first. The buttons, as I mentioned, they do not change, and it's going to be basically the solving process of this entire thing. And the way that this works is what we're going to be doing here is there's going to be a series of 2 letters. And these 2 letters are going to be represented left and right, and then left and right. Now the order of which you get them really doesn't matter. It's just, if we take a look here, the left one is the column here, so we have this one right here, and the right one is going to be the row in this case. That's going to be the upright triangle in the corner. That's going to represent tango for this first bit right here. That's what we're going to be doing with this guy. Likewise, for the second one, we have U and U. That's going to be representing by a bravo. And now we're going to do the same thing for all of these guys here, and that's pretty much the first step that we want to do to figure out is the stuff on the buttons here, because these guys will always stay permanent, and it's just one less thing to worry about. The thing that we're really going to focus on is going to be the display for this entire thing. That's what we need to do. So let's get the rest of these letters here. And the way that you describe them is however you so please to. It's really not too hard to describe some of these guys. But there is definitely some very close similarities with some of these guys here. You might call this one like the eye. You might call this one like the eye, but it has a little bit of an extension in the bottom right or bottom left, respectively. And keep in mind that there is the possibility, like, that all of these are essentially just going to be flipped horizontally. That's just the only difference between these guys. I like to call this one the simply the upright or up left triangle. These guys are a little bit obtuse triangles. Bit funky. This one is sort of, I guess I would call this one like almost like a meteor strike. Like there's that little bit on the bottom left that's coming down. I don't know. Again, totally up to you guys how to describe it. But essentially, I'm teaching you how to do this module, not how to describe things. So next up, and of course, some of the buttons may be a little bit hard to see the actual text in here, but with the ability to zoom in, you should be able to see it just fine. So now we have this one and this one. It's going to be a Yankee, and then we have that one again, and we have this guy, which is going to be a golf. Okay, next one we have U and U, which is going to be a uniform. And then we have U and U, which is going to be another uniform, ironically. Okay, next up we have, where is it? There and there, which is going to be an Oscar. And then we have U and U, tango. Okay. And it's going to be the exact same thing with the display. It's just we're essentially going to be getting an actual word from this. We're only going to be getting a series of 2 letters from the actual buttons here. So then and then lastly U and U, which is going to be November. U, which is going to be a Yankee. And then finally, for the last one we have here, we have U and U, which is going to be a hotel. And then finally U and U, Romeo. Okay. Now, we're going to save these for a little bit later, but what we're essentially just going to do is we're just going to push them down to the bottom, but we have them now, and that means that is good to go. Now, let's take a look at the display, and let's see what we can do with this module. So now, we're going to do the exact same thing, and I do have cryptii up for us, and this is going to be able to help us, because now the Caesar cipher has been permitted to be used whenever you so please, so that's quite nice. So thank you for the competitive people for allowing that to be permitted. And let's take a look at what we need to do. So we have you and you, which is going to be a hotel. Now, one of the things that actually makes this quite easy is the fact that you actually don't even really need all of the letters. I generally tend to get about 5 or 6 to give me a really good idea of where I'm at, because most of these are really, really unique from each other, and there's really no reason why you shouldn't be able to determine them from each other. So, generally what I tend to do is I tend to get 6 letters, then I tend to do the funny Caesar cipher, and then that will hopefully be enough for us. Let's continue on though. Let's do you and you, which is going to be an echo. Then we have both the curves here, which is going to be, now, there is a couple of special things that can happen here. Now, we have a couple special symbols down here in the bottom, and in this case, we happen to land on an asterisk. So now what this means is that asterisk in the table means the previous letter is going to be shifted forward 13. So the previous letter we decrypted is going to be shifted forward 13, and that is going to be our new letter. So in this case, we got echo as our previous letter. We're going to add 13 to this, which is going to be an 18, which is going to give us a Romeo. It's essentially just a Rock 13 for that. And the plus and the minus are essentially going to be shifted backwards by 1 and shifted forwards by 1, respectively. And an important thing to note is that none of these will appear as the first letter. So that's very important to note because it has to use previous letters. Okay, next up, we have you and you, which is going to be alpha. Then we have you and you. It's always going to be column row format. And let's get one more. So we have both the triangles in here, which in this case is going to be a plus now. So plus in the table means we're going to be the previous letter is going to be shifted forward by 1. Now we had the Oscar from beforehand. The Oscar is going to be a it's going to be MNO, and then we're going to be shifting it forward by 1, which is going to give me a P. And now, hopefully this should be enough information for us to be able to do the funny Caesar cipher here. And remember, the way that we have to note this down is it has been Caesar shifted forward by A, which means we need to essentially reverse the encryption by doing it backwards. So that's the way that this is going to work. So let's pop this guy in here. So now we're going to be shifting backwards. And let's see what the results that we get. So we have, see if we can find anything. This looks like it might be a word here. Livest. Yes, livestock. Now, livestock is going to be our word here. And what we did here is we shifted backwards by 22. So it was shifted forward by 22, and we shifted backward by 22. And this is going to result in our value of A. It's going to be very important. A equals 22. And now for B, what we need to do is we need to figure out how many steps we rotated to the left by that. So in this case, it actually starts with the L that we need to look at here. In this case, we have livest. So in this case, it actually wasn't rotated to the left at all. It's simply going to be marked down as a 0. So we're going to mark a B as a 0 because of the fact that we have livestock coming into play here. And just like that, we figured out our word. But now, what exactly do we do with this information? We've gotten our A and our B, which is going to be the relevant piece of information that we need to get from the actual module itself. Now, what do? To solve this module, you must press 4 buttons. To determine if the button is valid, to press, take the sum of the alphabetic positions of its 2 letters and modulo by 26. So, here's what we need to do. For each of the buttons, I had gotten 2 letters from these. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the sum of the alphabetic positions of its 2 letters and modulo by 26. Now, we can actually just do this for all of the letters immediately because of the fact that it's just going to save us some work. We can do this a little bit beforehand. So we have 20 plus 2 is going to be 22 for this first one. Then we have a 25 plus a 7, modulo this by 26, is going to give me a 6. Then we have a 21 plus a 21, is going to be a 42, modulo this by 26, is going to be a 16, okay? Then we have an Oscar and a Tango, which is going to be 15 plus the 20, modulo this by 26, is going to be a 9. Then we have New York, which is going to be a 14 plus a 25, modulo this by 26, is going to be a 13. And then we have an 8 plus an 18, modulo this by 26, is going to result in a 0. Okay. And now, if that okay, so now we figured out our the values of each of our buttons, and If that number equals A times B, then modulo 26, that is going to be the correct button to press. Now, if we take a look at A times B, it's 22 times 0. This is the results that we got from the actual word here. It's 22 times 0, and if we take a look, that's going to equal out to be a 0, which we happen to have that exact value of 0 in the bottom right. So for our first stage here and for this word, we're going to be pressing the bottom right. Now, hold your horses. We need to press this at a very specific time, and that's going to be based off of the texture of the button here. You must only press a button at the correct time. However, if the button is white, which in this case it is white. We're going to be pressing it when the last second digit of the bomb timer is equal to the number of lit indicators. So in this case, we have 2 lit indicators. We're going to be pressing it when the last digit is a 2. Now, one thing that is very important to note down is it's a bit interesting how the buttons work. Also, pressing a button for less than a half of a second on the bomb will not register a press. So you actually kind of need to do a little bit of a hold for it. And it's a bit weird, but it's the way that the module was designed for some reason. So let's hold bottom right for like a little bit of half a second on a 2. Last digit being a 2. That did not register, so we have to hold it for a little bit longer. Bottom right a 2. There we go. And the display just changed. Perfect. So now, we really don't need the letters anymore. We know what our values are from this, and that's all we really need to pay attention to because that's all that's going to be really relevant for us. So we can simply just get rid of these letters. Goodbye. And now, this is what we're going to be doing for the process of the entire module here, is we're essentially going to be decrypting 4 individual words to get 4 button presses. And it really is not too hard to do. It's just cryptii go burr, and we do the funny. And that's really all you need to do for this. This is really simple module that surprisingly not that many people know as of this recording, but it's not too bad. But at the same time, it's not really anything too crazy. It's a bit of a lengthy process, that's for sure. So now let's take a look. So we have uniform here. Let's take a look. We have echo. We have this column, and we have you, which is in November. We have you and you, which is going to be a hotel. And we have you and you, which is going to be an asterisk. Asterisk is going to be shifting it forward by 13 from the previous letter. So 8 plus the 13 is going to be a 21, which is going to be a uniform. Okay. Now, at this point, this should be definitely enough letters for us. Let's do the funny cryptii Caesar cipher. Let's pop you in. Now, let's start from the 25 and let's go down. Here we go. I see goat. That should be immediately a good indicator. So we have goat NA. Goat NA is going to be probably helpful for us. Goat. Yes. Nanny goat. Now, this means that if we happen to take a look here, so we have goat nanny. So now, because we started with goat at the beginning, this means that we're going to have goat nanny. But in this case, the word table wants us to have nanny goat. Now, remember, let's take a look. First off, our Caesar shift was shifting forward by 20. So we shifted forward by 20. So that's going to be A. And just to make sure that I'm explaining this well, we shifted. The module was shifted forward by 20. We had to shift backwards to get that number. So now for B. B was rotated steps to the left, but in this case we want to rotate the exact opposite. So in this case that's going to be rotating to the right. So now, how many steps right does it take us to get back to nanny goat? Now, if we take a look, all we essentially need to do is we need to count how many times it takes to get, for example, the first letter to its position or the first letter of the actual word to its original position. So in this case, we would start at this November. We would go 1, 2, 3, 4, looping back around to the Gulf, 5. It would take us 5 times to the right to get us back to our original position. So in this case, the Bravo is going to be worth 5. Now, since we found our word here really easily, what we need to do is we need to multiply these two guys together, which is going to be a 20 times a 5. So 20 times 5. Now we're going to modulo this by 26. And that's going to give us 22. Perfect. Now, we do have a 22 for one of our button values, which means that we're going to be pressing the top left here. And remember, we were going to be pressing top left, but remember we need to press it at a very specific time. And the color of the button in this case is going to be the top left, which is going to be corresponding to white. Now, the other possible colors of buttons is black, which in this case we have 3 of those on here, as you can see. And then there's tan, and then there's brown. Now, the tan and the brown are really distinct from each other, but in this case we don't have a tan on the module. This is going to be brown. It sort of looks like, actually it almost looks like hay almost in a way. But this is going to be brown right here, and tan is going to be a bit of a brighter, I'd say almost closer to yellow color. But in this case, they are distinct enough, trust me, and we will take a look at one more example to hopefully get that taken care of. The second example I will be going through a lot faster, so just keep that in mind. So we said it was white, which was the exact same thing we did for the bottom right, so it's going to be equal to the last digit of the number of lit indicators, which we had was 2 on here. So we're going to be pressing the top left when the last digit is a 2, making sure that we hold it for over a half a second. It's very particular about this. All right, that should be good. Yep. All right, so now let's go on to our third display here. And this is essentially all we're going to be doing, is we're going to be rinsing and repeating right here. So let's do U and U, that's going to be a kilo, okay. U and U, that's going to be a asterisk, okay. So we're going to be shifting this forward by 13, so 11 plus the 13 is going to give me a 24. That's going to be an X-ray. Okay, then we have U and U, which is going to be an India. Then we have U and U, which is going to be a tango. U again, and this one, which is going to be a kilo. U and U, which is going to be a Mike. Actually, I think I'm only going to do one example. This is explaining thoroughly how the module actually works. Just make sure that it's very important that you make sure you add the alphabetic positions of the 2 letters on the buttons, but make sure you multiply A and B together. So let's take a look. So now we have 6 letters. This should definitely be enough for us to figure out where we're at. So let's pop this into cryptii here. And let's see what we get. Perhaps, no, that doesn't make sense. Let's get this area cleaned up. Ooh, here we go. That's definitely a big implication. Repart. Yes, here we go. Repartita. That's or however we pronounce it. In this case, we have found our word. Our Caesar shift was shifted forward by 19, which we shifted backwards to get to the original word. That's going to be 19. And it happened to actually be shifted by 0. It actually happened to be not shifted to the left at all. It happened to be just simply 0. It happens to be exactly in its place. Now, it's important to note that it specifically says in the range of 0 to 8 inclusive, because of the fact that it doesn't want you to assume that if you happen to be in the exact same position, it happens to be a 9. It also says that it's going to be 0 to 25 inclusive for step A, if in case it happens to be the exact same word that you get from just the display alone. It's not forward by 26. It's not left by 9. It's simply 0. It's simply 0 for both of them. Very important to note down. So now we have repartita. I'm not going to bother pronouncing it, and it happens to be in the exact same position as we got with the display in the word table. That makes sense. So this means that the Bravo instead is going to be a 0 this time around. And based off of multiplication that you can do really quickly, you can get the 19 times 0 being 0 in the bottom right. We're going to be pressing bottom right again, and we happen to press this one in when the last digit was a 2. We're going to do the exact same thing here. And now, for our last display, let's finish this up. Let's take a look and let's see what we get here. So U and U, which is a kilo. U and U, which is a delta. Now we have a minus here. Minus is going to be in the table, the previous letter shifted backwards by 1. So we're going to shift delta backwards by 1 to get us a Charlie. Then we have U and U, which is a golf. U and U, which is a Romeo. And then finally, U and U, which is an Oscar. Okay, that should be enough for us. Let's pop it into the cryptii here. Okay, let's make sure that we look at the back stuff. There might be some stuff that we missed, but it doesn't appear to be that case. Ooh, hold on, I might have found a word here. Let's try and search up ATS. No, it's a W. That doesn't make sense. Maybe AT just by itself? It looks like it would be something close, but I'm not seeing it, so let's continue on. Wally is it? Ooh, yes, here we go. EX, then Wally. So EX is the end of the word right there, then WALI. Bingo. So this means this is a Wally EX right here. So now we started with a EX, and then we had a Wally. So now we need to figure out what we shifted. We need to figure out what we Caesar shifted, which is going to be 6. We shifted back to 6. And we need to figure out what we need to Caesar shift left. And if we were to do this correct, it's Walia IB. So now it was shifted to the left. It was shifted to the left. That would be, oh, quite a few times. So now we take a look here. In order to get us back into our original position, we need to shift right instead. Which in this case, it was shifted to the left. Starting from the echo, we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the whiskey. So that's going to be shifted right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 back to the beginning. So in this case, our Bravo is going to be shifting to the right by 7. That's going to be our answer right there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 6 by 7. So 6 times 7 is going to be 42. We're going to modulo this by 26, which is going to give us 16. 16 does correspond to one of the values that we need to get here. In this case, our answer is going to be in the top right for this last button press here. So now let's go back. Oh god, let's zooming in. So let's go back to this. Now this top right is a brown here. This is definitely a brown. If it is brown, we're going to be pressing the digit when the digit is equal to the number of AA battery holders. And each of these is going to be modulo 10, by the way, if I didn't mention that. And in this case, it happens to actually be quite nice. If it was either both brown or tan, it would be the number of D batteries. For tan, it would be the number of AA battery holders. Both of them actually would be equal to 1. So in this case, if we happen to mix up for some reason tan or brown, we would be making sure that it would be the exact same value. In this case, it is. But now, we know that for a fact that this is brown, tan is a much lighter color. Let's hold this when the top right is a 1. And just like that is a solved module. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.